Hello friends, how are you today? I can't wait to show you the amazing Schumann resonance chart that we have today and show you all the incredible things that are all going on at the same time. I have actually noted every single one of them that I could find in the chart. And so we're going to take a look at that in a second. I thought I would show you this beautiful sun image. Several years ago, I started taking photos of the sun. I had been living in a different country than the United States, one where the sun was not shining all day. In fact, many, many days it only shone in the late evening for maybe an hour, sometimes two. There was only about 2 weeks of the year that I felt like consistently in the time that I lived there got dedicated sun, and that was always at Easter. Of course, I'm talking about the time that I spent living in Ireland. I always believed it was the faith of the Irish people that brought the sun out at Easter for 2 weeks every year. Faith can do amazing things, and so can trust in the light within. The reason that I talk so much about spiritual aspects and the energy of co-creation between yourself and your own divinity when I talk about the Schumann resonance is because it's my view that the resonance reflects back to us a pattern of human society. And we can look into that pattern and see, what is humanity thinking? What is humanity creating? Where are humanity's energies going? This is how I look at it. And it's my view through many, many years of research, both looking in depth at quantum principles and looking in depth at spiritual topics and energies, that you can't separate the two when you get to the highest levels of science, that these become one and the same. And that is the perspective that I'm sharing with you from. I'm sharing with you from a perspective of looking at life from an interdimensional perspective. And I look at the quote-unquote science that way. I interpret it based on my understanding of what those principles are. I interpret the graph, the data, energy in general. I also interpret it based on my understanding of quantum principles and how that works and how energy expresses based on those principles. So it's all interrelated. The way that we conduct our everyday life, the way that energy expresses on the graph, in my view, they're all common principles to how that works. And as I look to all the planets moving into Aquarius, we're still waiting on Pluto. It's going to be about 2026 before Pluto comes into Aquarius, I think it is. Maybe it comes in a little earlier for a short time, 2025. But before it's fully back into Aquarius after a very long time. It's my view that what I'm talking about here is one of the key thematics for the future. I'm very focused on vision, and I just happen to be someone who always has had a visionary approach to things, of seeing visions. When I was in corporate, I could predict where companies were going to how they were going to grow, what path they were going to take, partly because of that vision capability and understanding of strategy that I have. And so when I look at energy, I also think of it in strategic terms. So today, what I want to do is look at this amazing chart and then talk about the personal. So first we're going to look at all of the celestial events going on and the energies in the chart for the last couple days. And then we'll look at taking it to the personal and talking about what this means for your personal life. Because in my view, the future is about humanity and how we are changing, growing, and evolving. And this everyday understanding of energy is going to be something that really shifts our ability to create our own personal lives, and flowing out from that, our homes, our communities, our society, in alignment with the highest good and in alignment with divine will through you. Those are the most powerful co-creative keys. How you come to that is your personal journey. Isn't that interesting? Once you walk that journey, what you do with that information, understanding, now that is really interesting. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do with that and what I do with it. And when I look at the sun here, do you see the crown above the sun? This photo was taken sometime around 2013, 14, 15. And at that time, I was getting many geometric images of the sun where the sunlight is coming out in these geometries, and this incredible crown was like glorified at the top of the sun. This was after 2012 had ended, it passed on, and we were into the new energies after 2012. And so it's like there was this amazing energetic opening and shift. And I think this photo captures so well what that was about. I see this as the Christed light. And so when I look at the sun, I'll show you what happens in my mind. Let me see if I can do this here. I guess I'll do this maybe. Okay. All right. So when I look at this is what happens in my mind. Okay. I see the light of the soul in the heart with the flame coming out like the trifold flame above the, when you see statues of Jesus Christ above his heart, you'll see a flame. And this is what we are looking at, in my view, represented to us by a celestial object, the sun, which exists, in my view, in a multidimensional state. And when you look at the sun, and you may or may not perceive the rainbow around the sun or at the sun, but in my view, there are parts of the human system that perceive it, okay, that might be nonverbal. And so you know that this energy is emanating, especially if you're listening to my video. You're probably keyed into this. Okay, wow is all I can say. Here is the Schumann chart. I called this the grand celebration because we are right here at the peak of the winter solstice, and I have been wanting to show you guys a chart like this for quite a while. It might have happened around the solstice at the summer, actually. I'm gonna have to go back and look at that. You had major moon events. You had a full moon. You had a major solar event. You had the sun conjuncting the galactic center. You had the winter solstice peak. You had geomagnetic storms. You had geomagnetic disturbances. You had 3 M-class flares. You have 24 C-class flares in a 2-day period. I mean, it's on. So let's deconstruct this a little bit. Okay, right here is where the sun conjuncted the galactic center. Now, I did this calculating it myself to the minute, okay? So this is when, according to astro.com, the galactic center was at 2709 minutes Sagittarius, and at this time, it was 12:36 p.m. on December 18th on Saturday in on Pacific time. It was 3:36 a.m. on the 19th in Tomsk. And it was interesting because right after that conjunction, we had this incredible line like a stake in the ground. And before that, we had, oh, hold on, I gotta go back. We had this incredible energy on the 17th. Now, it's interesting because astrologer Laura Walker says that the conjunction was on the 17th. And it very well may have been. And it's possible that there's something about this data that is off, although there was also an event here. But look at this on the 17th, okay? Look at what happened. And so I am, just as prone to going with her information on this because she's so knowledgeable and has been doing this for a very long time. There may be other ways that she's ascertaining this. So this was incredible, this image on the Schumann resonance. I did do a video on this, and I did talk about it being it happened about 24 hours prior to my data showing the sun conjunctive, but it happened on the day that is said to be the day that the sun conjuncts the galactic center, according to Laura Walker and other astrologers also. Now, it's interesting because we still had this this vertical technological effect going on here, okay? And then it kind of, after the conjunction with the sun had fully completed, I'm just going to go, past it, completed somewhere around in here, and that vertical effect, that horizontal effect, I hope I said horizontal a couple minutes ago, that horizontal effect, and of course I'm talking about these fine lines that go horizontally here, above and below 20 hertz, okay, some of them close, some of them a little bit further out. So it seems to have ended or significantly diminished right after the conjunction, which was somewhere right around in here, and then we had this massive energy come in. Okay, so that's an interesting coincidence. I'm just going to point that out, because I don't know what it means, but it's interesting for us to observe these things. And this chart ends on December 19th. On the Tomsk chart, that was the day of the full moon peak. So I calculated in Tomsk time, it was 11:35 a.m. It was at 8:35 p.m. on the 18th on Friday in the Pacific time and in the East Coast in the USA. But it's interesting because at about an hour and a half later, we had this line come down. And I've mentioned before that at moon events, there seems to be a line that does tend to show up and go the whole 40 hertz range. And a lot of times it's dashed like this when there are moon events. So that's interesting. And then we had the white resonance here. We still have this technological effect going from the, a little bit now, it extended because it had been primarily in the alpha hertz. It had been pretty much really visible here. And then look here, see at 4? It wasn't as visible, okay, to this level. But now we see it going all the way into 4 hertz. And actually, no, we've got it going all the way up to the top of the chart after the conjunction. Ooh, we just discovered that together. That was interesting. Okay, now let's go down here. And no, I mean, yes, there are these vertical lines. There's also still this horizontal line at 40 hertz. The other really, really neat thing that this conjunction appears to have done is really turn us on in terms of human brainwaves in the high hertz on this chart, meaning high 30s and 40 hertz. So you can see that right here. Here's 36, so this is about, 37, 38. But this line here, see, it extends almost to 40, and in the blue to 40 definitely. And you see all the different colors here. We have had this before in the chart. It's been a while. And I want to say it happened around the March equinox last year. I'm going to have to go back and check these things. Maybe there's some seasonality to it. Because of all the different colors here, to me, this talks about us interacting with energies across a spectrum. Because you notice there's colors on here that we kind of, don't track, right? That don't reflect the resonances that are tracked. And the colors are simply a tool of the people that make the chart, right? They've chosen to use various colors on various resonances. So, and there's 4 of them on this chart. But look here, there's purple, there's orange, there's various shades of blue and green. The green shades go all the way from a yellow green to a very dark green. There's a purple tending towards almost a rose. So there's much more engagement and activity across frequencies that human beings, in my view, are accessing here. And that could be thoughts, it could be emotions, it could be insights, it could be experiences. But these are happening in the high hertz here. That means that they involve very integrated, very complex thinking that we've really owned and claimed as our own. And because it's so high here at 40 hertz, it most likely is engaging with our spiritual nature on a personal level. It makes sense that that's occurring at the solstice and before Christmas and the new year, the new calendar year. Look at this here. This is another shape here that almost looks like the Orthodox church cross. Isn't that interesting? We also have this line light up here. Now this is 20 hertz, so it's about 12 right there, lighting up again. Like I said, where this really lit up that I really paid attention was April 2020, and on my last couple of videos I go into detail about why that was important. Wow. I just realized that I hadn't added the M-class flare that occurred in this 3-day period on the chart. So that occurred right here around 8 a.m. Tomsk time. Hold on. Yes, I just checked my numbers. When I'm doing these interpretations, I'm kind of in an expanded state of consciousness where I'm in my, I'm doing like a 0 point energy within my heart a lot of times, okay? To the best extent that I can generate and maintain that, or access and maintain that. So sometimes switching from numeric details to that state can be a challenge. So that's why I have to check everything several times. It ends up taking actually quite a bit of time to do that. All right, now there's the M-class flare, and that occurred right prior to this energy being released in the resonances on Earth. And that's interesting. It's an interesting coincidence in that this occurred right before the sun conjuncting the galactic center. It's almost like the maybe invitation to opening. Because if you view this as I do, and let me explain how I view the sun conjunction with the galactic center. How I see it is that all suns are connected. I see the center of the galaxy as a sun. I know that scientists say there's a black hole at the center of the galaxy, but when I look with my clairvoyant vision and I look across the galaxy and I look into the center, that's not what's there. In my clairvoyant vision, looking in interdimensionally, there is a sun in the center of the galaxy, okay? And so this is according to my intuitive interpretation. And so when I look at that and I look at the sun conjuncting the galactic center, how I see it is this energy transmits from the galactic center to our sun. So it doesn't surprise me that there would be an M-class flare that initiates the peak of this, and that it initiates essentially a gateway of that energy then opening and transmitting to Earth, which we saw the big flow on the Schumann, almost like one side of the gates of heaven image on December 17th. This is why I used today the sun with the crown. In my view, this energy is of a more expanded nature. It resonates with the Christ consciousness, in my view. The Christ consciousness being the energy of our own soul. And to me, the reason Jesus Christ was called Jesus Christ, the Christ meant that he was one-to-one with his soul, with his divinity, with his God presence. Okay, the spark of the flame of the Creator, the spark of light of God, the flame of the Creator that is within each of us, right? That lights us as living human beings. That is the life force, in my view. That is who we are. He had it fully 100% one-to-one. And that's why he was Christed. And maybe a bunch of people were able to achieve a state close to Jesus, because to me, this is the halo, right? In the olden time pictures that you see drawn around people's heads, it was the Christed light that they were drawing. And it's interesting that they drew it as a circle in Renaissance times, because a circle is essentially, let me just get another color here. A circle is essentially a portal, right? And so you've got the energy of this expanded state, the Christed light. Am I saying that the sun can generate the frequency of the Christed light? Yes, I am. And why am I saying that? If the Creator made the sun and the central sun and everything in the universe, then why wouldn't it be able to generate that? Okay, so essentially, the halo above the head of holy people in drawings, to me, is saying that they have a connection with this Christed light, this portal that opens, this stargate, if you will, that is within the human body, that we access this energy. And the winter solstice today is like a huge celebration. It's like a reminder, a remembrance of, quote unquote, the covenant that God has with his people, right? That God is always going to be there for us, and that each one of us will be redeemed, that the celestial forces assist us with that, and that we have that opportunity available to us. And so now, in the dark night of winter, in the dead of winter, what happens? The light comes from the galactic center. The light comes of the Christ. The light comes of the Creator itself, the plasmic flame of light. And within each of us, within our hearts, we're able to connect with this as we slumber through the long night. So this is a celestial sign of hope, of the presence of God in our lives in the dead of winter in the Northern Hemisphere. And, on the other side of the world, it's a sign during your winter solstice, right? So, wow, it's so incredible. So these energies that we're talking about, I want to talk about it on a personal level. But this is divinity in form, in my view, coming through the sun, showing on the Schumann, reflected in each of our hearts. And what we do with this, then, is up to us. Let's go back to the chart for a second and see what else is going on before we get to the personal. Okay, so back to today's winter solstice chart. So here's the peak of the solstice here. You see the energies have cleared a lot. The technological effect vertically is still in place. Horizontally, not so much. We still have this very, very thick line at 20, maybe a little bit going above. Is this a vertical technological effect? I don't know. It could also be that humanity is just really, really focused and turned on. It could be that this is us. Because it's so interesting when you look at these patterns and stuff here, you start to see letters, numbers, images, almost writing. And it's interesting because look at what generates off of this. These beautiful, it's almost like snowflakes on the chart, all these various patterns. And I wonder, is the technological effect attempting to read them, to assess them? Is humanity generating this? Yeah, it's an intriguing question. We have these geomagnetic storms and disturbances that came. Now, we had a storm for several hours right here. It seems to have cleared the chart, And then we had this amazing white resonance pour forth. Also during the storm, we had these straightish lines in the high hertz, in the mid to high 30s. We had geomagnetic disturbances almost throughout the entire 24-hour period here. And we had from here to here, okay, this whole 2-day period, 12 C-class flares, 3 M-class flares, okay? That's separate from the M-class I showed you on the other chart. So these are new ones. We had the full moon peak, the conjunction. This is incredible. It's like you're at a July 4th celebration, and if you're not in the United States, on July 4th we celebrate Independence Day in the United States of America. And in the evening at night, all the towns will have these beautiful fireworks displays. And at the very end of the fireworks display, there's always a grand finale. Boom, 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 boom. All these colors, all these fireworks, all at the same time, making these incredible displays in the night sky. And energetically, this is a reflection of that energy to me. This is not destructive energy to me. This is energy available to us as human beings who have a co-creative ability, an ability to create with the divinity that we are. And God is pouring forth through signs in the sky, right? That's what the Bible says. I will show you signs in the sky that you can interpret. I don't remember the exact wording, but that's what the Bible says, essentially. So it's absolutely phenomenal. And then let's just look at this. We had this heightened consciousness, almost 2 hours. Here's our unconscious, this whole thing. Here's our subconscious. Here's our waking state and 7.83, the natural frequency of Earth. Here's our observational state, and here, boom, our beta state where we are consciously thinking, and then it just goes horizontally left and right. Okay, then this wave starts to dip into the mid-beta range and touch 20 hertz line. You see some black here. And I think that, to me, what this is showing is it's showing where we're seeing things that are in the shadow that have come to light. And now it's at the 20 hertz line, we're integrating these perceptions. And here at this higher hertz line, we are really thinking, considering about it. We are also receiving the beneficial energies of the solstice, the sun, all these amazing celestial events. And look at this. Doesn't this look like the Matrix? Like how it just, God, it does, doesn't it? How it kind of flows vertically down and then looks like letters or numbers. That's awesome. The matrix of the mind, the Schumann resonance. So have a cup of Schumann here today with me, friends, and let's talk about the personal for a moment. Here's what I wanted to say. These energies that are pouring through the chart are amazing. And we get to choose what to do with what is available to us. For so very long, we have been unconscious that we had a choice. But it's coming into consciousness for so many of us now that we get to decide what to do with our personal energy in our energy field. And once you start making conscious choices, this starts to flow out to the world around you and shift the world. Now, when you consciously attempt to influence other people, it doesn't work, okay? This is this is an interesting factor, and it's a very elegant factor by creation. Because in the third and fourth dimensions, that's what magic can do. And I don't want to speak about magic only negatively, because magic is used positive and negatively in the third and fourth dimensions. And magic can delight us and intrigue us and bring kind of sparkly energy at times to us. But, and I do not practice magic, just say, at those levels. I just want to be clear about that. But when we were talking about expanded energetic states, the energy works differently. It does not work through force, and it doesn't work through human manipulation, which is a force. How it works when you co-create is that you are aligning with divine will through you. You're aligning with the highest good through you, as determined by the divinity within you. This is a personal process. It involves discernment and the ability to connect with your own soul, with God, the Most High, the Creator of the universe. Those are personal processes that you develop on your own. But all of us know that we have intuition. It's my view that that's where that is the source of intuition, of that subtle guidance that each of us perceives as living human beings, our conscience even. That's the source of that, in my view. Okay, so now that we're becoming conscious, and rather than trying to influence other people, it's all about the self. Because when you reclaim your relationship with God, the Most High, the Creator of the universe, you open up that co-creative ability. And wow, there's so much energy. How to interpret it? What am I trying to say here? I just want to make it into words because I feel it so much. I keep wanting to tell you the story of this military guy I saw in a TikTok video. I don't know his handle, but he has this amazing, wonderful, encouraging short video where he talks about, it's called I Heard You Were Down But Not Out. And he encourages the person that he's talking to get up, to get back in the game. And in it he says, I've got your 6, I've got your back. Those two things mean the same thing. And I was listening to that video today and suddenly, bam, I got it. The reason the 6 is used for the dark forces and why they favor it. In our human world, it indicates the position behind the human being. That correlates with the shadow nature of the self. And the forces of darkness co-opt that shadow nature and attempt to use that shadow nature that we all have for their own benefit. It can only happen when we're unconscious, or when we make a conscious choice, which some people do, to work with those forces, okay? But for the rest of us, you may be working with those forces unconsciously until you bring conscious awareness to your thoughts, actions, behaviors, and activities. And I'm sorry to say it, but this is true. Okay? It's true for all of us. So rather than worrying about the dark forces outside yourself, it's my view that looking at our shadow within is the first line of defense and the first line of offense. It's the first line of becoming a fully empowered, living human being that can make a conscious choice of what to do with the energy available through them, through their divine right as a living incarnate soul in a human body. And so just because someone makes a speech and says this, that, and the other thing, doesn't mean that any of it is true for you. You get to make the choice of what to do with your own energy, what you will believe. And if you believe that God has your back, God has your 6, and you bring the light of awareness to your own shadow personality and integrate it then, you recover tool sets that were hidden from you. And then, in alignment with divine will through you, in alignment with the highest good, God has your back. You get to create, if that's your choice, what your soul desires. The human resonance. It's all about the vibe.